Hello, my name is Jim McGillivray and this is the Pipe Box, your source for all things piping. If you find this video useful, please give it a like and please subscribe to this YouTube channel to see more videos like this. Last time we spoke with world champion Highland dancer Daniel Carr. Daniel is also a professional level piper, so he's eminently qualified to talk on the subject of piping for Highland dancing. We talked about many of the ins and outs of piping for Highland dancing, and we went over some dances. We discussed the Highland fling, the sword, the chanteuse, and the strathspey and reel. We're going to continue that discussion with Daniel this week. We'll talk more about what it's like to be a piper for Highland dancing, and we'll talk about some more dances. We're going to discuss what a piper earns piping for Highland dancing. We'll discuss some of the challenges piping for Highland dancing poses, and we will talk about how beneficial piping for Highland dancing can be for your piping. So let's get right back at it with Daniel. Here we are, more on piping for Highland dancing. I'd like to welcome Daniel Carr back to the Pipe Box. Last video we discussed piping for Highland dancing and what a great little vocation it might be for a young up-and-coming piper. We'll continue that discussion this time, and we'll talk about some specific dances as well. One thing we did not talk about in our last video is what the pipers get paid.
For sure. It's a great part-time opportunity for somebody in high school or young adult, and the piper would be paid $300 a day on average in Canada and the US, and plus their travel and their meals and potentially a hotel if needing to stay over. Some events are more than one day. There's weekend events, or for the larger championships, like the Canadian Championship, which is a week long, or the US Championship, the piper would need to stay the whole 4 or 5 days for that event. So throughout a year, there's events almost every weekend in Ontario and throughout Canada and US. So think of a person school-aged or starting their college or university, how great a part-time job it would be for an up-and-coming competitive piper to make some extra cash on the weekends.
Yes, and there are dancing competitions outside of the regular Highland games that we see.
Yes, so we have our summer, where you have the games, Georgetown, Fergus, Maxville, you have that. But in the fall and the winter, there's several indoor competitions throughout Ontario and across Canada and the US, which require pipers for those competitions.
Very good. Tell me, Daniel, what sorts of challenges might a piper face during a day of piping for Highland dancing?
Great question. I think one of the most important things that the piper needs to be prepared for is tempo. So the dancing adjudicator is looking at the dancer's face on and watching how they're elevating in response to the music being played. And they might feel that the dancers are struggling to elevate because the tempo is a bit too slow. Yeah. So they are the ones to tell the piper to speed up or slow down based on what they're seeing, right? So that the competition is fair for everyone. If the tempo is played too slow, it really highlights those or gives those that really have a good elevation a stronger advantage in the competition. So to make it fair for all competitors, the judge will make sure it's a tempo within the range. Yes. That's appropriate for all dancers to experience success. So a piper shouldn't feel hurt or offended because the judge really isn't criticizing their piping per se. They just want that tempo to match the ability of the dancer.
Of course.
The primary dancers in the morning would dance to a much faster tempo because they're 5 and 6, and sometimes 4, and they don't have the ability to hop. They don't have the muscle strength yet. So that tempo needs to be played much faster. Whereas the premiers and the adult dancers, who are much more experienced and have more strength built in their calves, can elevate higher and can dance to a slower tempo. So
okay. What about pipers are always afraid of making mistakes?
Yeah.
What about
it happens, and in a long day of playing, especially hornpipes and jigs at a significant pace, you could have a wee slip or go off the tune. It's happened to the best of the pipers for dancers.
Yes.
So if you do go off the tune, or if you make a wee slip, most of the times, you can catch yourself and carry on, and and the audience wouldn't even notice.
No.
But sometimes it has happened where you've gone off the tune and you have to stop, and the dancers will be given a redance and given time to recover, and not to worry, it happens. And that's part of the excitement of live music, right? And one of the reasons why live music is still being used, as opposed to just going to a tape recorder like a CD, or playing off your phone, plugging the phone in and playing the tunes off the phone. I think it's still exciting for dancers to compete to live music, and I don't see Highland dancing events going away from that.
Sure.
Dancers at the higher level should be able to hear a slight change in the music and be able to stay focused and carry on their dance. So it's part of what we do.
Yes. I'm thinking piping for Highland dancing, it's a long day. It must be good for your stamina.
Yeah, that's a great point. Pipers, you might be able to speak to this from your adjudication experience, but we have some great 16 and 17-year-old pipers in grade 1 that might be given the feedback to blow a little bit steadier through a 15-minute pibrick, holding those notes absolutely steady on high G or high A, right?
Yes.
And I think that Highland dancing certainly helped me build that stamina, build the strength in your arm to hold the bag steady, and build up the lung strength during my teenage years to help me be able to play those tunes in the professional marches, Strasbourg and reel, playing a long MSR hornpipe jig set. The piping for dancing for a day has really helped me be able to play those longer sets with a steadier
Sure.
bagpipe.
So it's good, it's lucrative, and it's good for you.
Definitely.
Very good. Okay, let's get into some dances, and we will start with the 6/8. We're going to talk about some dances first off today in 6/8 time. Daniel, what dances will the pipers play in 6/8 time?
Well, there's two dances that are danced in 6/8 time, and the first one is the Flora MacDonald. And the first tune that the piper should look at for that is Atholl Highlanders.
Atholl Highlanders.
Another common tune is Glendaruel Highlanders, because both have 4 parts, and the dance is most commonly danced as 4 steps.
Yes.
With an introduction. It's
4-bar introduction.
Yes, and I'll play that for the listeners.
Okay.
And the tempo for the Flora MacDonald should be between 86 to 97 beats per minute. And before the dancers come up, you'd play the tune once for the judge to hear, and they will direct you to slow it down or speed it up based on the dancers that are coming up to compete in that competition. So I'll just play a little bit of the tune for you for the Flora MacDonald. That would be the introduction going into the first step. And then you play each part repeated, and once through the tune Glendaruel Highlanders would be the full dance.
Yes.
So the other tune in 6/8 is the Blue Bonnets, and that's danced to, of course, the Blue Bonnets Over the Border.
Yes.
And that should be played between 88 and 94 beats per minute. So just as a side note, I just want to mention that the official board of Highland Dancing, along with Donald McPhee, has really worked out a range for all dancers to be successful. So it's important to go on the Royal Scottish Official Board's website and download that tempo sheet and make sure that you have an understanding of the range. We really need to respect that range, because there's been a lot of time put into establishing that for dancers to dance to. What tempo would work best for each dance to make those movements correctly.
Yes.
So let me play a little bit of the Blue Bonnets.
Okay.
With the introduction. notice that I played the first part there 3 times because that included the introduction.
8-bar introduction. Yes.
And then the first step.
Yes. Okay.
Same with the Flora as well. You'd play the first part three times, and then every subsequent part twice.
Okay. And that's it for 6/8?
That's it.
Okay, let's move on to 2/4. And what dances do we have in 2/4 time, Daniel?
Well, we have 2 dances that can be played in 2/4 time. We'll first start with the Highland Laddie, and that should be played between 96 and 100 beats per minute. And the most suitable tune is the Highland Laddie, and it sounds like this with the introduction and the first step. And so on. So that was introduction and then into the first step. The other dance in 2/4 time is Wilt Thou Go to the Barracks, Johnny? Or you could just say barracks. And that should be played at 100 to 106 beats per minute, a wee bit faster than the Laddie.
Yes.
And the most common tune for that is the 78th Farewell to Gibraltar, because it's also 4 parts. Barracks is most commonly danced 4 steps. So the 4 parts works, because you have some variety, right? First step, second step, third step, fourth step, not all being danced to, 2 parts and then repeating 2 parts, right? So I think these 4-parted tunes, having 1 part for each step, adds a bit of variety and keeps the dance musical, right?
Yeah.
So I'll play a little bit of the Barracks.
Okay.
So on. And that was again the introduction and then starting into the first step. So just like the 6/8, we'll be playing the first part 3 times.
Yes.
And then the rest of the part. That's right.
Yes.
And then the rest of the parts just twice.
Yes. I noticed these tunes, at least for these 2 categories, 6/8s and 2/4s, are a little quicker than pipers would normally play them, thus the need for a competent player.
That's right. And they're played a little bit quickly because the dancer, is elevating and can't spend unlimited time in the air.
Yeah.
So, again, really, really important to know and know those tempos.
Stick to the tempos. Very good. Okay, let's move on to jigs and hornpipes. Well, as if the tunes haven't been quick enough already, now we're going to get into hornpipes and jigs. Tell us about those dances, Daniel.
Yeah, let's start with the sailor's hornpipe. And that dance should be played 98 to 102 beats per minute. So that's moving.
That's going for a hornpipe, yes.
For sure. So I just want to talk about the categories that dancers would compete in. Primary, beginner, novice, intermediate, and premier. This dance would be first competed in when the dancer reaches the intermediate stage.
I see.
So for intermediate dancers, I would recommend sticking to just 1 tune for the whole set of dancers in that age group. Because, they're just learning the steps, building confidence in how to demonstrate those movements, and you don't want to create any extra anxiety for those dancers. But once they reach the premier stage, which is like the open piping stage, right? The dancer should now have developed a musical ear. The movements in this dance are interesting because you can really hear them against the platform. The steps almost come through as percussionists to the piper.
I see.
Could I hum a little bit of the tune?
Yes, please do.
So let's say the second step of the hornpipe, the dancer is doing the shuffling movement. It should sound a bit like this. And you can hear it's right in rhythm with the tune.
Yes.
In the rhythm and the piece. So let me play a few examples of how I would play this for a premier competition.
Okay.
I'd stick to the same introduction. Crossing the Minch would be a good choice for the introduction because every dancer would recognize that melody.
Yeah.
And then come the first step, you could go into a 4-parted tune of your choice. the second set, just like that.
Yeah, yeah. So the piper gets a chance to show their stuff a little bit.
That's right. You don't have to play 30 different hornpipes, but you know, a little variety again makes the afternoon more musical.
Yes.
For the premier dancer.
Yeah.
Now the Irish jig.
Jigs.
Same again, intermediate dancers would be the first to compete in this dance, just learning the steps. So sticking to one tune for that category would be most appropriate. And Paddy's leather breeches or the Irish washerwoman would be good choices for those dances of those levels.
Yes.
For premier dancers, again, sticking to the same introduction. And then you can go into a 4-parted tune of your choice or a 2-parted tune of your choice after you play that very widely recognized introduction for the dancer to hear the rhythm, feel confident on stage. And the tempo should be between 118 and 122 beats per minute.
Just about our jig tempo.
Yeah. So again, played at a fairly quick pace. So I'll give you a few examples of how I would do that. And then the next set, same introduction. Yeah, and those tunes are not obscure, like very widely known jigs in our piping community, but going through a few different pieces with the same introduction keeps the music consistent and fair for all dancers, but also provides a little bit of variety.
A little bit of variety, yes. Excellent. Very good. And that's the jigs and hornpipes.
Yep.
Excellent. Well, Daniel, this has been a great tour through the world of piping for Highland dancing. I appreciate it very much. Thank you for coming on to the Pipe Box and sharing your knowledge. A former world champion Highland dancer and one of the best up-and-coming pipers I know, Daniel Carr. Thank you.
Well, thanks again for having me. And just, if I may say, consider this as a wonderful part-time opportunity. If you're in high school and you're competing in grade 2 or grade 1 amateur or open, you know, approach your local Highland dance organizer at the games and introduce yourself if you're interested in a great part-time opportunity to make a little extra money, but also a great piping improvement exercise as well.
Yes, very good.
Thank you.
Great opportunity. That's it for this week. From me, Jim McGillivray, here at the Pipe Box with Daniel Carr. Good piping.